So picture this. The tension in the room is palpable. It's the stone bubble of the $1,700 WSOP Circuit event in Tunica, and the atmosphere crackles with anticipation. Over $700,000 is up for grabs in the prize pool, and for the players still left in the field, every decision can mean the difference between cashing and being the only player to go home with nothing. Among them is Preston McEwen, a 7-time WSOP Circuit Ring winner, notorious for his signature long hair, sunglasses, and an uncanny ability to build massive chip stacks at every stop he plays. Some say he's just lucky. Others whisper that he fires infinite bullets to get there. But those who have studied his game closely, those who have watched him dominate time and time again, know better. And this hand is a perfect example of why Preston McEwen is simply built different. You're deep in the tournament, sitting on a comfortable stack of over 30 big blinds. Plenty to coast to the money if you decide to play it safe. But then comes a hand that forces you to decide, do you play like everyone else? Or do you trust your instincts and go for greatness? Preston limps in with ace of hearts, 6 of diamonds from the small blind. And sitting to his left in the big blind is a young, fearless up-and-comer. This player isolates with the raised pre-flop, setting the tone for what's to come. The flop lands king of spades, 5 of diamonds, king of hearts. Preston checks. His opponent fires a bet of 17,000. And with just ace high, Preston continues. The turn, the jack of diamonds. Preston checks again, and the big blind fires another bet of 52,000, continuing to apply pressure, but Preston's still not a believer. The river, the 6 of hearts. Preston's finally paired his 6, but is it enough? His opponent, with almost no hesitation, shoves all in. The entire tournament, Preston shot at another WSOP circuit ring. His place in the money, it all hangs in the balance. If you fold here, you survive. You make day 2 comfortably and have a guaranteed shot at playing for a 6-figure payday. But if you call and you're wrong, you go down as the bubble boy, walking away with absolutely nothing. The board reads king of spades, 5 of diamonds, king of hearts, jack of diamonds, 6 of hearts. There's 194,000 chips in the pot, and Preston has 178,000 chips behind. Preston holds ace of hearts, 6 of diamonds, just a weak pair of 6s on a paired board, so technically 2 pair with the kings. Every single value hand beats him. The only way he wins the hand is if his opponent has absolutely nothing, or in other words, a stone cold bluff. So what do? The safe play is to fold. Most players would. In fact, 99% of recreational players would throw away this hand without a second thought, especially under the immense ICM pressure of bubbling a major event. But Preston, he goes into the tank, thinking through every possibility, every detail, every clue. Eventually, he places the chips in the middle. Call. The table watches in stunned silence. His opponent turns over his cards. Preston was right. His opponent had absolutely nothing. A complete triple barrel bluff gone wrong trying to apply pressure on the bubble. His opponent had queen of spades, 8 of clubs for just queen high. Preston rakes in a massive 550,000 chip pot, guaranteeing a spot in the money and marching into day 2 with a huge stack. So was this an insane punt, or was it a genius call based on elite level intuition and strategy? Today, we're breaking it all down. We'll run the hand through GTO Wizard, adjust for ICM post-flop implications, and node lock different opponent strategies, whether it's against an aggressive maniac, a tight passive player, or default GTO. Was this call actually correct? Or was it just a highlight reel moment that happened to work out? Let's dive into it and find out. All right, let's break this crazy hand down. Shout out to Poker.org for the original clip. Let's watch that really quickly.
Damn, this pot's pretty big. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. It's a good call. It's a good call. Man, I guess I fucking suck at this game.
So yeah, pretty sick hand. There are still some details unknown if you've just seen this clip, but I did some digging, and if you go into the comments, someone said, I wish I could see the entire action. And then Preston actually commented saying, I limp call 24K pre, check call 17K on the flop, check call 52K on the turn, and then check call jam on river. So that comment was super helpful for being able to dissect this hand. I took a look at his stack size on the river, counted it, and then did the math backwards to figure out what he had pre-flop. Now I know the exact sizes on each street. So let me pull up this Word document I worked on. So here's Preston's comment. Here's his stack size on the river. I count one full stack of 5Ks, another full stack of 1Ks. There's 8 1Ks on top of this stack. And then there are 2 stacks of 25K here. There's 5 5Ks each. So here's the math. So he has 178,000 chips on the river. If you add the 52,000 chip turn bet, he has 230,000 on the turn. If you add back the 17,000 chip flop bet, he has 247,000 on the flop. And then last thing you need to do is add back the 24,000 ISO raise pre-flop, and he has 271,000 effective pre-flop. And my guess is his AK big blind, meaning the big blind made it a 3x ISO raise, but it also could have been a 4x at 6K big blind. But I'm pretty sure day 2 started at 10K big blind, so 8K big blind makes the most sense to me. So we're going to assume he has 33.88 big blinds. And then here is the hand history. I just wrote it down a little more cleanly. 4K, 8K, 8K big blind. The effective stack's 271,000, which we just discussed. 33.8 big blinds. Hero's covered by villain and ICM on the stone bubble. And Hero has ace of hearts, 6 of diamonds. There is a $737,805 prize pool with the $4,139 min cash and $144,962 to first, with 487 total entries. Excited to break this one down. And yeah, let's open up GTO Wizard. So first things first, I think it'll be cool to run this in Chip EV. No ICM whatsoever, just against a standard GTO bot. Is this a call in theory? That's all I want to know. We're going to make adjustments. We're going to run an ICM. Just in baseline Chip EV, is this a call? So we're going to set it up. Preston had 33 big blinds, and the big blind had roughly 60. So we'll find the closest we can get to that. 33 and 83 looks fine. Preston limped. Let's see if that's good in Chip EV. Okay, so A6 off is mostly limping, but it does mix in a small raise. But this is in Chip EV. In ICM, it's going to be a pure limp. I know that for sure, but we'll confirm that. So for now, we're going to say that's one adjustment we're going to make based on ICM. And we'll just go through and count how many adjustments we should be making. Another adjustment is going to be once we call the big blind with queen 8 offsuits mixing, whether they just check back or they ISO raise. But with ICM, they're going to be going a lot more aggressive. They're going to be ISO raising a much higher frequency. I imagine it might even be pure. We'll confirm that for sure. But for now, we'll say that's 2 adjustments we need to make. So there's an ISO raise, and then with A6 off, it actually wants us to limp shove, but I imagine that's really, really risky on the stone bubble when in live poker, there's going to be a bunch of really short stacks. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to risk your entire tournament life. Maybe just go for a non-all-in 3-bet, which we could see is the same EV, but it's mostly advocating for a shove. I want to say in ICM, it's going to be more of a limp call, almost pure. But if it does want to be aggressive, it's going to go for a non-all-in 3-bet. It's not going to want to risk your entire tournament life. Good blocker. Makes sense to me. Let's say that's 3 adjustments now that the ICM sim is going to be making compared to what we're doing here in Chip EV. So just a call, which is the same EV, and we'll solve with post-flop AI. We're going to go into the small blind range and give them pure A6 instead of a sliver. And then big blind, we're going to have them pure ISO raise queen 8, in which case these ones are going to ISO raise as well, most likely. And we'll also give them all the king X. For the most part, I want to keep this standard, but we also want to be able to see exactly what they're doing with the combos they have in practice. So Chip EV, not going to adjust anything else. And we had a flop of king of spades, 5 of diamonds, king of hearts. Out of position is probably going to pure check even in Chip EV, even more so in ICM, but yeah, still rings true no matter what. So in position, yeah, pure C bet, but we're going to compare. He went a third. I want to see if a quarter makes more sense. And maybe you go bigger against someone like Preston, who's sticky. You never know. So it actually does size up. It prefers to size up. This is Chip EV, but interesting to see 86%, 1/3. So the sizing he chose in-game is favored by the solver in Chip EV. So we're going to choose that. And then Preston floats with the ace high, which the solver agrees in Chip EV. You're never folding. Then the turn was the jack of diamonds. Pure check from Preston once again. In Chip EV, it wants in position to just check back the queen 8. But maybe on the stone bubble, they're just going to be a lot more aggressive with their double barrels. So I'm going to say that's potentially 4 adjustments. They had a pure range bet on flop, so there's nothing to see there. It's going to be the same in ICM. But they are shutting down on turn a bit more. So they're only continuing 56.9% of the time on the turn. I imagine ICM, when you cover the small blind, this percent's going to go up higher. So we'll confirm that. So as of right now, there's 4 adjustments. It's just really good to be making these adjustments in your head in game, not having the solver handy, but knowing why you need to make these adjustments. That's what's most important. So we're going to have the big blind double barrel. In game, they went 52,000, which is 6.5 big blinds. I'll node lock that just so we can have the exact action. See if Preston's supposed to continue. So it's mostly calling, doing a little bit of raising, and then some folding. We'll see which combos want to fold. You'll see some folding with the diamond combos because we block their flush draws, and we want them to have flush draws because those are some of the combos we're actually ahead of right now. So it's even starting to do some folding if you have the diamond. Preston had the 6 of diamonds, which is a bit more irrelevant. If he had the ace of diamonds, that'd be more relevant. But he calls, and that seems reasonable, especially because this only had the big blind barreling 57% of the time. And he's more realistically on the bubble, barreling something close to pure. So we can make that adjustment and see how we're supposed to react if a6 offsuit becomes pure in that case. But for now, we're just going to run the hand out standardly and have the small blind call. And then the river we pair, it's the 6 of hearts. And all 3 streets just a pure check from Preston, which he did. So it looks like he played this hand very well. And then, yeah, the big blind, if they do bet, it's just going to be an all-in for just under pot. And a6 offsuit in chip EV is pure calling if they get there on the river. So it's good to see. I don't think anyone's even doing it in chip EV, and that's a lot easier to do than the stone bubble. So good to know we're supposed to be doing this if there's no ICM. And well played by Preston on every street. His opponent, if there was no ICM, should have checked the turn. But because he should be applying pressure, because he is the covering stack in ICM, it makes a lot of sense why he did barrel and then shove river. So let's rerun this now with ICM. We'll go near bubble, 1,000 players, small blind 33 bigs. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to have to go 28 and 52. All right, so adjustment number 1 comes true. Now, instead of having some raises with a6 or some raises at all, it's just a pure call like I was talking about. So that looks good. Big blind's not ISO raising quite as much as I expected them to. They actually have less ISO raises now with queen 8. That surprises me, honestly. But that could be a function of the stack sizes I chose. There's no real short stack. Let me take a look and see if I could find a more drastic sim. Yeah, how about this one, 37 and 69, where there's a 13 big blind stack? I feel like now the big blind could apply a bit more pressure. Even still, it's not much. So let's go back to the one that's a bit closer. And we'll just have the node lock. Interesting. So near bubble, a6 off, it either wants to just 3-bet non all in or just fold. It doesn't want to call. The problem is, right, that there's the full big blind ante in the middle. Whereas sometimes online, there might be an empty seat. So there might only be 0.8 big blinds in the middle from the antes. It might only be 0.75. You know, in live poker, there's always one full big blind in the middle for the big blind ante, which is going to incentivize Preston to call. And then also, assuming my math was correct, and the 24,000 ISO raise preflop was a 3x and not a 4x, you're way more likely to call a 3x than a 4x, or even a 3.5x, which this is suggesting. It makes a lot more sense that Preston called in game only against a 3x with the full big blind ante in the middle. So he calls, and then we're going to have to solve this with post-flop AI. And then I'm going to choose the default 1,000-man GTO Wizard structure. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of node locking here pre-flop. Make sure they have ace-6 off, ace-5 off, and we'll go up to ace-10. Confirm. And then big blind, we're just going to have them ISO raise a lot wider. Queen-8 offsuit plus. It's honestly probably even more than this, but this seems reasonable. We don't want to adjust it too much. And then I'm going to create the solution. King of spades, 5 of diamonds, king of hearts. Still going to be a pure check from out of position. Still going to be a range bet for in position. We'll see if it likes the smaller sizing now. Chip EV did like his 33% size. Now it's a little bit less of a range bet, but it's pretty much close. So 25%, it still prefers. Let's see if I add the 33%. If it prefers that, like it did in Chip EV, since that's what he chose. Interesting. I would have thought on paired board and ICM, it would be a small size. So interesting to see it likes the 33%. Makes our lives easy because now we could run it as played. And a6 off's almost folding the flop now. It was a lot more pure in chip EV, but we're going to be able to do some node locking, make it so that they're range betting flop instead of just 83%. I imagine he's not going to have many checkbacks unless he had like quad kings. So let Preston call for now. Back of diamonds turn. Another pure check for sure. We'll just have him barrel the default sizing. which is close enough to what they actually bet. And it's saying a6 off's a pure fold on turn. I would have folded on turn personally. I think most people would have folded on turn after calling one on the flop, but this is what makes Preston special. This is what shows he's putting a lot of work, because I'm pretty sure if I do some node locking, it's going to make it a whole lot better. So nothing else to run at this point. Default ICM sim near bubble, it's saying just fold the turn, right? Chippy V we looked at said call all the way down. Unless you had a diamond, maybe you fold turn, but once you hit the 6 on the river, you're just calling down. But here, let's make some adjustments, because he knew who he was up against. He knew this was a young up-and-coming crusher. This wasn't, just your standard old man coffee who's going to be tight passive. And then when they show this type of aggression, they're going to be really nutted. I doubt Preston would have ever made that call against that player profile. But yeah, let's take a look at some node locking starting back at the flop. So it only wants to bet 85% of the time, and it's splitting the sizings. Let's go like this. Edit actions. Let's remove the small sizing. So now we remove the smaller sizing and we only have one size. It's saying we check back 14.5% of the time, but I think in practice, the big blind is going to be c-betting almost pure, except for if they have quad kings. So we're going to lock all the hands, set strategy, 100% bet. King, we're going to leave as is, but everything else, we're just going to have them betting. We'll only leave in the top trap, and we'll just assume even trips are betting. Even ace king, I doubt it's going to check. So we're going to node lock that. So I had a little bit of folding on flop previously with a6 off. We'll see if it's better now. So yeah, now it's pure calling and it's profitable. Love to see it. Makes sense. And it's probably what Preston was thinking in his head in game. Betting any two cards here. ISO raising pre-flop with any two cards and c-betting with any two cards. That's another thing we could do, is go back to pre-flop and make the range even wider. And then jack of diamonds. So we don't even need to run this versus a nit, right? That was something I was going to do. I was going to run it as if this was a really tight opponent. But even versus standard GTO, it wanted us to fold the turn. So there's no need to do that analysis. So now we check again, and our opponent double barrels. It only wants them to double barrel 66% of the time. We'll see if we continue on the turn with a6 off now after node locking villain to range bet flop. Still a pure fold. But there's another adjustment we can make. There's two more adjustments we can make. So right now it's saying we're losing money, but we can go back to the big blind range. And hey, it's stone bubble. I could apply fuck you pressure. Let's node lock that. Lock all, set strategy. What if our opponent's just a maniac and any two cards they have, they're just double barreling here? Which, as we could see, queen 8 off was going bananas. So who's to say he's not going to do it with even worse hands that have less showdown? That's what we're going to take a look at, this pure extreme. And if we're still folding, then yeah, it's a mistake. But I don't think it's going to be. I think Preston's a smart guy, and I really, really respect his game. So we check. They pure barrel now. And now a6 off's making money. Cool. And then we pair up on the river. 6 of hearts. We check. They're going to have one move. Not with their entire range, so we can node lock that as well. And yeah, it's making a lot of money, actually. So it really comes down to knowing your customer. If they're range betting flop, are they double barreling with the super wide range? If they're not, if they're going tighter than GTO, even GTO wanted to fold. So if they're even a pip tighter than GTO, you have to fold. But if you know your customer like Preston did, and you know it's a young up and coming crusher and he's going to apply a lot of pressure and just be super aggressive, then look, a6 off prints. Really fun analysis. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure you guys check out solvernerds.com. We got the GTO Wizard Masterclass live right now. It's on sale for $37.95. You can't beat that. We're also guaranteeing your money back if you're not satisfied, but this course is jam-packed with value. I'm confident that after you take this course, you're going to be much more proficient with GTO Wizard. You're going to be able to do a ton of node locking. You're going to know the ins and outs. So yeah, if you don't like it, you get your $37.95 back, but it gets even better. Add that to your cart. Proceed to checkout. Click to enter your coupon code. Type in Crusher. Apply. And you'll get another 25% off. So only $18.98. That's nothing, guys. You're going to really enjoy this one. And coming up next is the multi-way masterclass. Going to go deep into multi-way solves. One of the most common spots you're going to play in poker. 3-way hands, early position versus button in the blinds. Middle position versus the button and the small blind, EP versus EP and button, all kinds of different scenarios, knowing when you should be check raising, what your bet sizes should be, etc. That one's going to be really, really, really valuable. Really look forward to that. A great poker player named Alex Foxen once said, being a master at multi-way is what separates good players from world-class players. So yeah, definitely going to want to check that one out. I've been deep diving into the multi-way sims for a while now.